Hello everyone, welcome to the latest installment of Am I the Asshole? If you're a fan of hearing Reddit stories, it would greatly support the channel if you could like or subscribe. Without further ado, let's dive into our first story. Am I the asshole for telling my sister that my other pregnant sister is planning to name her baby after her deceased son, causing her to cut her off? Am I the asshole? I have two sisters and the middle sister. My older sister, OS, lost her son late 2022, so it hasn't even been 2 years yet. He passed at 6 months due to SIDS. My OS has been mourning him ever since. My little sister is pregnant with her first child now, and she found out it's a boy. When I was over at her house, we were talking about her plans for the pregnancy and the baby, and she told me she plans to name her son the name of my OS deceased son, and keep it a surprise. I can tell she thought it was an honor thing, but knowing my OS, she would be devastated if that happened. I told my LS, I don't think it's a good idea, and that our OS would not find it to be sweet and an honor. It would hurt her even more. We argued about it, and she said that I'm being dramatic. Even though I know it was supposed to be a surprise, I knew my older sister would be even more depressed than she already is if our LS named her son after her deceased son. So I went against my LS wishes and told my OS. As I expected, she was pissed. She said it was incredibly disgusting and selfish to do that, knowing how fresh it is for her, and that she does not want to see a baby with her son's name in the family, which I agreed with. She was very grateful that I told her before he was born, because she said she doesn't know how badly that would have triggered her. She, of course, confronted my LS, and they argued about it for a while, with everyone in our family siding with my OS. My LS called me in tears saying I'm the reason that my OS cut her off and isn't speaking to her because she's still going to name her son after our nephew, even with my OS begging her not to, saying that she doesn't find it an honor and that it would hurt her to see another child named after her deceased one. I told my LS she's a horrible person for still going through with this, knowing how much it hurts our OS. She says I'm an asshole for telling her since it was supposed to be a surprise at birth, and that seeing her nephew with her son's name would make her realize it's a good thing, and she's just trying to be a good person. And I'm an asshole for making them fight. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your little sister isn't dealing with the consequences of her own actions, and is blaming you. You didn't do anything wrong. You explained to her it was a bad idea. She's still going through with it. Your older sister is extremely upset by this, and your family is upset by this, and your little sister is still doing it. Also, losing a child is traumatic and heartbreaking, and it would have absolutely been so much worse if your older sister came and saw your nephew, and your little sister said the name of her deceased child, found out you were aware of this, and didn't say anything. My cousin lost a son to SIDS last August. The 1-year anniversary was on the 2nd, and I could never imagine naming a baby after her son. Even if I didn't know him personally, it still feels insensitive, and she'd aboustily be crushed, but quietly, because she's very non-confrontational. And that's my cousin, not even immediate family like my sister. This is not one of those no one owns a name situations. LS is planning to give her child this name when she already knows it will hurt the OS. How awful. I hope she rethinks this idea and comes up with another name. OP is not the asshole for giving OS a heads up. Not the asshole. My young adult stepdaughter died suddenly. She was my husband's firstborn, and he loved her fiercely. I had all I could do to keep him alive for the first few months. His grief was so deep. 2 years later, my stepson and daughter-in-law announced they were pregnant and shared 2 names they were thinking of using. No issue with either. But when my granddaughter was born, they named her after my stepdaughter. It was a surprise to everyone, and we all struggled with it. My husband was never able to call his granddaughter by her name. He had a nickname for her that he used. And it hurt every time he heard that name, because it just reminded him of what he had lost. 20 years later, every so often, he would just moan her name and have tears in his eyes. I can only imagine the grief of a parent losing an infant, never being able to call her son's name again. My stepson and daughter-in-law intended it to be an honor and hoped having the name associated with a baby and a very cute and delightful child she was and still is, would ease everyone's grief. It did not. Well, that's another episode of Am I the Asshole in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.